it's working. I don't know whether my model is going to work, but I can give a try and see if it's working. So I thought of plurilingualism. There may be a question, why not multilingualism? So that's beyond, the agenda of my talk, but I can, talk a little bit if you want to discuss on that. But I'm not promoting multilingualism, and as you know, multilingualism is quite different than plurilingualism. So plurilingualism has emerged from Council of Europe. Council of Europe got this idea of plurilingualism to resist the dominance of one language, that may be English, and other local languages or other European languages which have dominantly been used in Europe. So in North America, so that is a European context. I said the plurilingualism came from Europe, and it is pretty much being implemented in European countries. And the scholars in North America have termed it differently, like they come up with a different terminologies or different constructs. They are very confusing. They differ from one another, but I think they have the central idea. The core idea is to promote multiple languages, to develop plurilingual or multiple linguistic repertoire to the students to exist globally. So that is the core, concept. So like you can see, the disinventing languages came from Macaulay, and translanguaging from Garcia, and code messing from Canagraza, and there may be many more concepts and constructs that promote plurilingualism. So plurilingualism is European construct, and these other constructs coming from North America. So are we going to follow European, North American, or are we going to situate, or are we going to, appropriate the plurilingualism construct in Nepal? Because we can't just borrow and implement, because Europe is and North America is quite different from Nepal. It's not a similar context. So we try to situate, we try to appropriate plurilingualism in the Nepalese context. Or there may be some studies in the future to decolonize Eurocentric and North American knowledge. We should not adopt as it is. We have to, or I've hardly come across some constructs made by scholars coming from third world countries. Everybody follows. And it's true that the knowledge is coming from Europe and North America, and there should be a kind of, we have to dimensionalize that. So plurilingualism, what is plurilingualism? So the definition of plurilingualism is to develop, or is an ability of an individual. It's not an ability, it's not a social construct. It's not multilingualism that talks about the society, it's an individual. So it is to develop an ability of an individual child or individual learner who is competent in more than one language. I would say varieties of the same language. It's not only English, Spanish, or Nepali, or different languages. This could be within English, British English, American English, Nepali English, Pakistani English, any English. Or there may be the different dialects of Nepali, different dialects of the same language. So it can be the varieties of the language itself. And the learners have to be able to switch between these languages. And they can use this linguistic repertoire as a whole to articulate themselves. What is not plurilingualism? Just to make sure that, okay, this is plurilingualism. So plurilingualism is not multiple monolingualism. Like bilingualism, English, Spanish, separate. It's not two separate languages. I'm not different monolinguals. Or I don't want, through plurilingual pedagogy, I don't want a child to grow different monolinguals, rather I want them to grow plurilingual, or plurilingual speaker, that they can use, the repertoire from, the skills are from all the languages and the cultural embedded. Plurilingualism is not bilingualism, as I said. Plurilingualism is not multilingualism or multilingual. Multilingualism deals with societal aspect. It talks about the society, but plurilingualism talks about an individual. plurilingualism is not polyglot either. Why plurilingualism? The knowledge of one language helps learners to be aware of other languages. So the linguistic repertoire from one language can be, or can assist learner to learn another language. Like I know the grammar structure, or I know, the structure of Nepali language, so I can use that Nepali language to understand or learn English language. However, the neuroscientists have different beliefs that there is this what we call hemisphere, left hemisphere for this language, right hemisphere for that language. I'm not going towards that discussion. But as a social linguists or applied linguists, we think, it's not different compartmentalization. It's like we have to, the linguistic repertoire of one language helps to learn other language. Biliteracy, it's a biliteracy or bicultural development. Bi means it's not only two, it may be multiple. The students take control of their learning, so it's a kind of developing their learning autonomy. So like learners can think of their own previous knowledge, learners can utilize their previous knowledge, and sometimes they can be, I would say, the researcher of their, in their own right. They can, learn by themselves. And obviously they need teacher, but I mean to say that they can use their previous knowledge and previous linguistic repertoire. Plurilingual knowledge is multi-competence. It's not the competence in one culture, it's not the competence in one language, it's multi-competence. It values more than that. Most importantly, that we're talking about the issue of identity. That, and equality in language learning or just the education itself. So it values linguistic diversity and empower languages. So it may provide an opportunity to revitalize, the languages which have never been given opportunity in education or even society. Translation promotes the acquisition of the language. It maintains educational justice and equity for linguistically marginalized groups. Now, how does plurilingual competence look like? So I'm going to talk about my own linguistic repertoire. As I said, languages are not compartmentalized in plurilingualism, nor is bilingual transactable linear. It's not linear. It doesn't go straight. It has, different modes. So as you can see, I speak Bajika, Hindi, Nepali English. Then I went to the UK to do my master's, so I had a kind of opportunity to grab some British English, so I can say, so I have kind of British English as well. World English is, I may be right to say English has a lingua franca competence, but by world English I mean I have competence to understand people from multiple linguistic and cultural background. That's what I mean by my world English's linguistic repertoire. So you can see it's like helping one another, it's going through one another. It's not like different sections. I don't have Bajika here, Nepali here, Hindi here. It's everywhere, it's rotating. So when I go to Nepal, when I'm talking to my parents, I use Bajika. Sometimes I use English words, sometimes Hindi words. When I talk to Anu, like we use Nepali, we switch to English. So like, all languages going through. And we see the situation where we decide which language is appropriate to use. And we use, per se. So like, it's not different languages, compartmentalized, but it's going, together. So my linguistic trajectory. How did I develop my linguistic trajectory? As I was born in a Bajika-speaking family, that is my identity. That is my first language. That is, that language came from the place of my birth. Then I learned, Bhojpuri, Maithili. That was one of the languages spoken in the near community. So that was also from place of birth, and that has some cultural identity because I have my colleagues, I have my friends, and the childhood friends from that community. I learned Hindi from Bollywood movies. I used to watch a lot. I still watch, and I learned Hindi. So that came from movies. So media is one of the way to develop linguistic trajectory. Then come Nepali from my school, or that is the official language in Nepal. Then again, Nepali English. Because, there has not been any study that has proved, okay, there is Nepali English, and Nepali English looks like this. I don't know how it looks like, but I think Nepali people have different accents. They use different kinds of words. They use different kinds of chunks. So yes, there is Nepali English, which, you can't say, okay, I have British English. I don't have American English. Of course, I may have Nepali English, or maybe I would say world Englishes, or English as a lingua franca competence. Then British English, I can mimic, or I can do some, or sometimes people say I sound some word, I pronounce some words like, in a British accent. And then ELF or world Englishes, I'm in Canada for the last 6 or 7 months, who knows, in future I may learn some Canadian accent or Canadian English, so I may have another, trajectory added.